What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Vault Hunters with me, Simply Zach. As you can see behind me here, we have the foundation for a house forming, and it is right between Jared's house and Chad's yurt over here in the Village District. Really excited for this house, but that is not what we're going to be working on today. No, we're going to be running a copious, rich, plentiful vault. We're going to be running a treasure vault. We're going to be making a spawner farm, and we're going to be upgrading our furnaces. So stay tuned for that, and before I talk too much more, let's roll the intro and get into the episode.
Is anyone there? Hi.
So to get right into it this week, we're actually going to be coming over here to the cobblestone farm that we created last week and digging out in one of the walls to try to keep everything nice and compressed and kind of around each other because as I stated last week, I don't like to run forever to go to my different farms and stuff. So we started digging out a nice little square. This spawner farm is really almost no different than a vanilla spawner farm when you dig out a nice little square around, say, a zombie spawner or something. The only difference is the spawner itself is going to cost us a considerable amount of grinding vaults and just destroying spawners because you need 32 cage dust to actually make everything that you need, plus an echo pog to get the spawner up and rolling. And that was a little bit out of our realm of reach, so to speak, because we just unlocked the mob spawner mod a couple episodes back. So we basically, I went ahead and prepped the room for the spawner, but we did not have the resources to actually build the spawner whatsoever. So here I'm just digging a nice little trench for all the mobs to fall into. If I wanted to make this possible for 2 wide mobs, like Ravagers and stuff like that, it would need some modifications, but I just kind of went with a simple, nice little water push design. I used some ice on the floor so the mobs slide a little quicker and don't get stuck up as easy on each other or the mob spawner itself. Tying in, of course, the diorite walls, or should I say, like marble slash diorite slash dolomite. Using a variety of the same kind of color will help with the texture of your builds for sure. So that's my preferred style of building, is to have everything nice and kind of splashed with texture from the different blocks for sure. We're going to go right over here and actually dig out a room for the kill spot of this farm. So basically it's just a water push farm that will push the mobs to stand right on top of that hopper there to the left. And of course we got to pretty it up because nobody wants to stand in an ugly room when they're AFKing and farming for gunpowder, steak, or whatever else you're going to be using this farm for, because the iSpawner mod is actually super good, especially in Vault Hunters, just in the sake of it being very friendly with the mob eggs. I'm pretty sure the iSpawners mod is actually designed specifically for Vault Hunters, so you can use your mystery eggs and stuff to power this spawner. You basically just fill it with the mystery eggs you get from vaults, and it'll spawn anything you want it to spawn. So this could be a mob farm for anything. We're going to go through here and add some elevators and camo them, of course, and have them there for easy access. And what you see there with the armor stand is just specifically basic. We'll roll back to that here in a little bit, actually, with kind of explaining the killing mechanism here. So I couldn't really decide how I wanted the mob farm to look. At first I was going to go with a creeper design, and I think I nailed it. And as much as that looks great, I think maybe I should take that down and try something else. So to all the people who love my floor design, you can use it for roofs too. It's just a beautiful design. Deep slate, probably my favorite block in the game. Going up through here, and this is another variation of what I was saying before. So we're using the kind of green moss to tie all these random blocks together. We've got granite bricks, stone bricks, mossy andesite, all that kind of stuff in the walls just to help break up that just gray. And here we could easily use pretty pipes or something more high-tech, quote-unquote, if you will, but we're just going to go with the simple little hopper chain to drop in the eggs into the spawner there. And I noticed I totally missed the end of this, so, for no reason at all, I'm going to fix it because no one's ever going to see that. Put the chest up here, and this is the little chest that we will use to drop our eggs into to power the farm once we get our spawner actually on there. And this is just me showcasing the frame blocks and how amazing they are. The frame blocks are the spiritual successor to the carpenter's blocks from back in the day for any of you old school Minecraft mod players. It does exactly what carpentry used to do, but it does it now, which is fantastic. Such a fun idea to be able to use multiple blocks for things they weren't necessarily meant to be used for. And we're just going to cover this bad boy up with some black stained glass because I'm pretty sure the iSpawners mod doesn't matter for light levels and stuff like that. And the piece de resistance, a looting force sword, so that we get as many drops as we want. And this is kind of what I was talking about with the killing chamber. If you stand here, the creepers actually can't see you, so you can kill them through the wall. Well, I hope you guys like the spawner setup. I know it is sand spawner right now, but we will be running plenty of vaults to try to save up some spawner dust so that we can make one. Speaking of vaults, let's check what our vault ore supply is looking like. Well, we got quite a few here. We got 3 echo and... got 16 from those 3. I'm really glad I got that on film because that is a fantastic pool. I cannot believe our luck on that, if I'm being honest with you. Pretty good pools on the rest of them, except for maybe Oopaline that only gave us 4 for like 6 ore that I put down, so that's cool. Our first vault of the day we're going to be running today is actually our CRP vault. So it's got 3 crystal cave rooms, an X mark room, rich, crowded, personal space, hunger, plentiful, fast, copious, and destructive. That is a mouthful. So for anybody who's unaware of like vault modifiers and what you're looking to aim for here, a CRP vault is essentially probably one of the best vaults in the game, if I'm being honest with you. It's close between that and luckier like treasure room vaults, but in my personal opinion, a CRP vault is probably the most fun to run. As you can see here from the footage, there is just a ton of vaultors, even in rooms like the fish room or the aquarium room. Like, you're going to be pulling some vaultors here, and it is going to be a lot of fun running through a CRP vault. Now, to be fair, getting copious on a catalyst is not the most common thing, but if you see a crystal that has copious available to it, make sure you put it on there and build that crystal around the idea that you're going to be running a CRP vault, because you will get enough ores off of these bad boys to not have to worry for at least a little while about your ores and what you're spending them on. They just keep coming and they don't stop coming. There is tons of them to be had in here. It is a little challenging to, you know, work your way through them and not get kind of overwhelmed by the amount of ores you're seeing and still be mindful about your time so that you can clear as many rooms as possible. My only tips for a CRP vault would be to make sure that you have a Terra Shatterer or a mining gadget, some kind of mining device at your ready, because if you run into a mine room or something like that, you're not going to want to, like, miss that because all you have is a Paxel. Like, if you're early game and you get... So this is actually us finding our first X marked room. You guys are in for a surprise here because this is a very good vault, but a very unlucky vault. And you'll see what I mean. But if you get a CRP crystal early on in your playthrough, it's going to be hard, but just sit on it and wait until you have a better way to like mine out the rooms efficiently. You're not guaranteed a mine room or anything unless you put runes on it, which is something else I would recommend. In this vault too, we also found Witch Scout, which was really cool. It caught me off guard. There she is, or he is, I'm not sure. But that was pretty cool. I wasn't aware that that was even a thing. I guess that's a little Easter egg. So spoilers for anybody who didn't want to see that. I'm sorry, but it's a random mob that'll spawn sometimes in the vault. It's pretty funny. But yes, back to my original point. Sorry, I got sidetracked. If you get one early, just wait for as long as you can. Hold off on it until you have some kind of way to mega mine, because if you do happen to get something like a cave room or a mine room, I should say, and you don't have something to mine it, you are going to feel awful, because that is literally probably thousands of ores you're leaving behind. And second X mark room was also a spawner room. So for anybody who's not aware of how the X rooms work, I guess we can touch on those for a moment. So the X rooms are essentially a room that you're going to find that has the X in the middle, obviously. And when you dig down into the room, there's one of 3 variables that will happen. The room will spawn in as a ore room. Echo, let's go. It'll either spawn in as an ore room with lots of ores, it'll spawn in as a treasure room with lots of chests, or it will spawn in as a mob room. And mob room is obviously the one you don't want unless you're looking for cage like dust or looking to farm soul shards. Pickering is so good, by the way. Love the Pickering. Just deleted that bird. And our third X room. But you're obviously going to be hopping into here. Like, if we had gotten an ore X room in this vault, that would have been absolutely nuts. But we got 3 different X rooms, and all 3 of them were mob spawners. which is terribly unlucky. That's just bad luck. Like, ugh. Like, I cringe just thinking about it now, how much we didn't get because the dice rolled in the wrong way. We did get a few Echo Ore and some high value, some Larimar, plenty of Biniotite, which is the main thing we were actually hopping in here for. We're going to be using that a little later in the episode, so stay tuned if you want to see where all that Biniotite goes. And we're going to just hop right back into another one. So this one is kind of the opposite. It does not have treasure, but it has horde, crowded, hunger, gilded, slowed, personal space, frail, indestructible, fast, safe zone, hard, trivial, and some other things that I was too slow in reading. But there they are on screen if you were curious about what it had. Our very first room off the bat this time was another X room, and if this one had been a mob spawner, I probably would have just turned off Vault Hunters, if I'm being honest with you. Thankfully it wasn't. It was a chest one, which, I mean, isn't the worst thing in the world. There's plenty, when you're running a horde and gilded, like, vaults, there's going to be plenty of these chests everywhere anyway. So, could have asked for a better room on that X room. X rooms were just not being kind to us this day. But, you know, there's not going to be a ton of footage from this one other than this room right here, just because on a horde slash treasure slash gilded one, which is what we tried to get horde or treasure on this one, which is the best modifier for spawning in the vault chests, but we couldn't get it. It's a rare one, just kind of how copious is. But on these vaults, you're basically just running around and breaking chests more or less, which isn't, from my opinion, very fun to watch from a viewer standpoint. But what is fun is watching this Terra Shatterer just demolish this dig site room. Look at all these chests it's uncovering. The Terra Shatterer is just so freaking good. I love it. And there are tons of chests and dig sites. And, you know, since we had this modifier, I figured might as well run through here because a few more of them would be gilded than not. So, pretty fun stuff. There was quite a bit of loot we got from this vault here. I think there ended up being something like 75 or 80 chests in this room, which was pretty cool. And my particularly favorite thing when the chests in this room or other rooms spawn in a big bundle like that is if you vein mine them with a Paxel. Oh, that's so satisfying, just getting all that loot. And of course, Chad accidentally ran up and summoned the boss when I was in the middle of looting, which is fine. I mean, he almost soloed the robot. I literally just came over here and executed him so that I could say I helped. Got the boss great. I mean, I would love to see the robot more as the boss, to be honest. He's a little more difficult than the boogeyman and a little more fun to go against. So that vault had some mediocre boss crates, if I'm being honest with you. They weren't great except for the 2 Paxel charms. And right there you can see, very briefly, we are actually at 24 cage dust. So we are right there. It's taken us a lot of vaults to get that much, and we're going to have to run a lot more to get our spawner up. But I think it's high time we use that Biniotite we just got and take a little saunter over to the Botania area to do a little more work with that. And moving right over here to the Botania area, we're going to actually start getting our Botania situation figured out. You can see upstairs I've actually used a lot of the Biniotite to make a ton of these mana pools. And we're just moving a little bit of our mana from these tablets into them to try to get our quote-unquote mana battery up. So, if you're interested with how a mana battery works in Botania, you have your main pool that the player is putting their XP into via Rose Arcanas or Cakes or whatever. Turns it into mana. You put a recessive augment on that first pool. It goes to your second pool, which is a lot of pools all next to each other. You don't want any augment on those sparks. And then you want a last pool that actually has the dominant augment on it, and that dominant augment will pull any of the mana from the middle pools. So essentially it makes a nice little chain where it goes from the recessive to the none to the dominant. And then you use the dominant augment as your augment for basically your main pool that you're using to charge items, alchemize items by changing them, conjure items, any of that kind of stuff you're going to do at that main dominant pool. And I do apologize if my little infographic wasn't detailed enough or was a little too quick. Feel free to rewind and watch it again if you have any questions. We're actually going to be utilizing some of the information on that infographic right here in real time. I just kind of put it up there to help anybody who's a visual learner kind of get a little flow chart down for how mana flows through this mod. So basically what you're seeing here is our mana pool is pulling all of the mana from that main one downstairs that's getting filled from our XP. So we have Rose Arcanas here that are pulling our XP, putting it into that pool. That pool shoots it up to all of those sparks upstairs over all those other pools, and basically makes a mana bank, if you will, or a mana battery. And then down here, we're actually going to set up a pretty pink little pool right there, and we're going to put the dominant augment on it, and we're also going to dye it because, side note, you can dye all your sparks to have them work in unison, but they need to have the right augments on them if you're going to do it. As you can see there, that's not functioning properly. We want it to go upstairs to the battery and then back downstairs so that we have kind of a buffer for mana. When we put the dominant augment on there, you can see how fast that bad boy charged. Look at that. That is so quick. Because it's charging from essentially 25 mana pools upstairs that are all kind of casually getting filled from downstairs. Messing with the augments and stuff is so much fun when it actually gets into Botania. And over here, I'm actually putting the recessive augments on our two that are getting filled by our coal-burning flowers over there. So now those will also passively fill our quote-unquote mana battery upstairs. Yeah, it's really trucking along. It is so much better to set up like a smart system for your mana distribution like this, um, because it gets a little frustrating having to, move mana around with tablets and stuff. It's just so much of a better experience having it just automatically flow. We're going to come over here and take a look and see how our charcoal farm we made last episode is working. As you can see there, I actually did upgrade the furnace to a rainbow furnace. We invested in better furnaces finally, and oh my gosh, is it amazing. It is so good. Rainbow furnaces do like a stack at a time. And look at how pretty that is. This is all of what we've been working towards. Mana flying through the air, to the battery, from the battery. It is just a fantastic looking mod. And one more thing for this week, guys. I was just going to show you our little smelter that could has been upgraded and got a facelift with the rainbow furnaces as well. It will automatically pull this charcoal into those furnaces. You put the stuff you want to smelt there, and it'll get it done. It's amazing. Love rainbow furnaces. But I do think that's going to do it for me this week, guys. I really appreciate you tuning in and staying tuned to the Vault Hunters progress we've been making. Loving this mod pack, and I love to see you guys in each and every episode. Make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, like, all that fun stuff, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good one, everyone.